Good morning, everyone. To my colleagues and honored guests, on behalf of our 9,000 students, welcome to Springfield Technical Community College and our historic campus. STCC occupies the former Federal Armory, founded in 1792 to produce small arms for the young nation by President George Washington. STCC moved here in 1968 after the armory was closed. We're the only college in the United States situated on both a national historic and national cultural site. While we take seriously our responsibility in protecting these grounds and buildings, our most important task is to provide a quality post-secondary education to the citizens of Western Massachusetts. The TAACCCT grant being celebrated today will help us fulfill that goal. I want to give a big Western Massachusetts salute to Secretary of Labor Thomas Perez and to Secretary of Education Arnie Duncan. Both of you have been supportive of the mission of community colleges. Dear to our hearts at STCC, Secretary Duncan has worked to boost Pell Grants and reduction of student loan payments for persons in low-paying jobs and loan forgiveness for 10 years for those working in public service occupations. As an individual with parents from the Dominican Republic, Secretary Perez's background is similar to 26% of our students and growing at STCC who have Hispanic roots. Among his goals as Secretary are connecting Americans with jobs through skill training and apprenticeships. Mr. Secretaries, I hope that what you see here today will convince you to redouble your efforts to assist STCC and other community colleges that serve as avenues for economic development, for the economic advancement for the currently enrolled 7 million Americans nationally and 100,000 in the Commonwealth. We are fortunate to be represented by a progressive congressman who is also a leader within the House. Congressman Richard E. Neal, the Dean of the New England Congressional Delegation, is a senior member of the Ways and Means Committee and ranking member of the Subcommittee on Select Revenue Measures. He has worked to make health care and tuition expenses tax deductible and has fought to preserve Social Security and Medicare benefits. A former mayor of Springfield, he knows well the challenges of our gateway cities. Our congressman from the 1st Massachusetts District, the Honorable Richard E. Neal.
A word of thanks to President Rubenzahl for convening this very important discussion, and also for a personal note of gratitude to 2 members of the President's cabinet, and as one who, as you know, has followed this with more than passing interest over the years. These 2 individuals that are here today, they're both confidants of the President. There are those who complain from time to time in the President's cabinet over the many years I've been in Washington that they don't have day-to-day access. The 2 members that are here today, they have day-to-day access. And a word of thanks to Governor Patrick's secretaries that are here, and also a nice warm greeting to the community college presidents that are here. They're amongst, in my judgment, the real success stories in Massachusetts every single day. And I've highlighted this personally with the President, and I never miss a chance with the Speaker of the House or with Leader Pelosi to point out the role that community colleges continue to play every day in American life. The story here to the 2 secretaries is that many of these community colleges now have students literally falling out the windows. There are colleges at the community level across the state that offer courses up until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. That's how astounding this has become. And I must tell you this, as a trustee at Mount Holyoke College for many years, we regularly in the spring congratulate ourselves by freezing tuition at $52,000 a year. And I will say this to you, that Boston College is now headed to $60,000 a year. This is what's happened. And if you want to find amongst the best engineering students that you're going to find any place, it's just up the street at the University of Massachusetts, another great part of our story. Let me just highlight the transformation of what has happened to manufacturing here in this region. President Rubenzahl noted that it was President Washington who established the arsenal at Springfield, the Springfield Armory. The Springfield rifle, manufactured literally on this site, changed the course of the Civil War. John Garand's rifle, the Garand rifle manufactured on this site, General Patton said, changed the course of World War II. I knew John Garand. The first postcard was manufactured in Springfield. The Duryea automobile, the first automobile, was manufactured in Springfield. We're on the site previously this morning of Milton Bradley. And I call that to your attention because for men here, just not to be too sexist for the moment, but for men here, you grew up with what was known as the Sears ratchet. That was made at Eastco Hand Tools. I was kidding John this morning as he was doing the tour for us. As one who's campaigned on those sites, as you might have expected, for almost 4 decades, if you wanted to visit with Eastco Hand Tools, there were 3 shifts. The union president stood with you at the gate. And at the gate, you were there for 7 in the morning, you were there again at 3:30 in the afternoon, and you came back that night at about 11 for the 3rd shift to make that hand tool. And I knew all those employees because they were all missing fingers. That was another comedy that we had at the time. We knew them all because they were all members of that union. And here's the point of it all. 100 years ago, Springfield, Hartford was the most prosperous part of America. The most prosperous part of America. On the seal of the city, you have the Armory, you have the railroad, and you have the Congregational Meeting House. And I call that up because the changes that have taken place in a global economy, and for those political figures that go out and campaign and say they're going to reverse the trend of globalization, don't vote for them because they're not telling you the truth. I see this every single day. Globalization is here to stay. So the skill set is highlighted by the Springfield Republican a couple of weeks ago, Jim Kinney's really good work, when he noted that there are up to 2,700 manufacturing jobs that are going to be available here in the Valley. But it's not going to be what it was like at United Technologies on North Main Street. It's not going to be what it was like at the Eastco Hand Tool Company or Van Norman on North Main Street, where at one time 10,000 people every day get up and went to work. 10,000 people. It's going to be this skill set that's very important. It's going to require what we saw today with President Rubenthal and his very capable staff, precision manufacturing. And I thought the Springfield Republicans' very important political commentary on Monday was essential as well, when they suggested in their business section, there is a language barrier that we have to address. It's very important. The best social detail that we can do in business and government is to help people get a job. It is the best social program because if they have a job, they will make good decisions for the rest of their lives. Last point. You can see the national economy continues to improve. An unemployment rate published at 6.1% and 5.9% last Friday. We all know what? It's closer to 8%. That's just the reality of it. It's the worker participation rate that needs to be focused in America. That's the key phrase. If you were talking to Jason Furman, that's what he would say as he did to our Chamber of Commerce a couple of weeks ago in Washington. It is what has contributed to the sour atmosphere in America. It's the number of people who have just given up looking for work. And it's the backdrop to what's going to happen in November for all of us. And we need to be mindful of it. Nothing helped 20 years ago, 18 years ago, like a 3.8% unemployment rate. Again, when the economy is doing well, the American family is doing well. And when the American family is doing well, then they make the right decisions every single day. This is a real highlight for Springfield today, to have 2 very important members of the President's cabinet here today who get it, and the role that the community college will play in helping to drive economic recovery for decades to come. So a word of greeting to the 2 of you, and thanks to STCC and the community college presidents who are here today. This is a nice day for all of us who live in the Pioneer Valley.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Dale Allen, and I serve as the Program Director for the Transformation Agenda. I also serve as a Special Assistant to the Commissioner of Higher Ed and a Vice President at Quinsigamond Community College. I have a few extra hours. I'm available if anyone needs to hire me. It's my pleasure to serve as a moderator today. And my first order of business, before I introduce each panelist in order or for their comments, is to introduce our 2 national leaders who have sought to strengthen our economy through shared efforts with the Labor and Education Departments. Their full bios are included, as they are for all of our panelists, in your packets. These 2 secretaries' visionary partnership continues to be a model for our implementation in Massachusetts, bringing together 2 very different systems, colleges and workforce development. Under Secretary Perez's leadership, the Department of Labor has recognized that college credentials are critical to success in today's workforce, and that community colleges are the engine that drives a healthy economy. And for Secretary Duncan, he's been a true leader in education reform, driving efforts to strengthen teaching, reduce student loan debt, and create better educational options. Secretary Duncan actually captured the transformative spirit that we in Massachusetts adopted with this initiative, the Transformation Agenda, when he said this when it first came out. This grant is not about tinkering, it's about transformation. This is not about getting more students to enroll, it's about getting more students to graduation day and into good jobs. I'd like to start by introducing Secretary Duncan for his comments, followed by Secretary Perez, and then I'll introduce panelists along the way. Secretary Duncan.
I'm thrilled to be here. I'll be very quick. I'm just a warm-up act. This guy is the brains behind this work and has all the resources. And I'm thrilled to continue to travel with him around the country. For me, this is like the ultimate triumph in common sense. So where you have local government, we have state government, federal government, we're trying to learn to be better partners. You have educators, you have industry coming together to train real people for real jobs that will pay them a good wage and help them enter and stay in the middle class. There should be no politics behind any of this. This is what our country should be doing. And we're thrilled to partner. We're thrilled to invest. And I always say these resources are not a gift. They're an investment in your leadership, in your vision, and in your sense and spirit of collaboration. I've long believed community colleges were these sort of unrecognized gems along the education continuum. And whether, as we see today, 18-year-olds, 38-year-olds, 58-year-olds retraining, retooling, trying to take that next step. Everywhere I go, I get to visit hundreds of schools around the nation. Community colleges are always among the most inspiring visits. And I just want to thank, it's interesting, many of the college presidents have been at it 10, 15 years. People do this work, it's a labor of love, they stay with it, and that stability of leadership is so important. But the difference that you're making for individuals, for their families, and for communities, and Dale, you mentioned it, I really believe community colleges are becoming regional economic engines. That's exactly what they're doing. And so the difference you're doing post a very tough economic time to help folks get back on their feet, make a good wage, support their family, but as the Vice President talked about the other week, sort of regain that sense of dignity that working is so essential, so critical for. I can't thank you enough for whatever my team and Tom's team can do to be good partners to the real work that you guys are doing every single day. Please challenge us to do that. Thank you.
Good morning. Buenos dias a todos. It is an honor to be here, especially an honor to be here with my friend and colleague, Arnie. You know, this is a conversation about the middle class and what it means to be part of the middle class in the 21st century. I was listening, Congressman, to your really great remarks, and you mentioned Milton Bradley. And I used to play with my kids the game of life. And the key to success in the game of life in the year 2014 is not that different from the game of life when I was a kid. It's all about skills. And my parents taught me education is the great equalizer. You know, my dad worked himself into an early grave, making sure that his 5 kids had that educational opportunity. And making sure that educational opportunity exists, it's a cradle to grave enterprise, and it's a joint venture between the Department of Education and the Department of Labor, because we're all in this together, and the work that Arnie has been doing on early childhood is an indispensable part of our long-term strategy for success. And at the same time, you know, 60% of the 2020 workforce was in the workforce in 2010. And so we have to make sure that what we're doing in the adult context is equally effective. And so that's why I've enjoyed working with Arnie so much. I learned so much about him, and I really think that the federal government needs to model behavior. When I was a former local elected official in Maryland, and then I had your job, Madam Secretary, in state government. And frankly, I remember looking at the federal system as it related to the delivery of workforce services, and about 8 weeks into my job, I said, why the heck is it like this? This doesn't seem like it's the best. If I were building a mousetrap from scratch, I would build a very different mousetrap. And we actually passed some laws to change the mousetrap, and that's what we're trying to do now. And as Arnie correctly said, I think the TAC program has been part of a broader effort at transformation. And make no mistake about it, there is a remarkable transformation underway across this country in how we are preparing people for the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow. And I want to thank all the employers who are in this room, because one huge part of the transformation is that everywhere I go, the level of employer engagement in this system is unprecedented. It's great and it's getting better. And I want to thank our partners in the community college system, because you are the secret sauce of success. You know, I often refer to the Department of Labor, we're Match.com. You know, we connect businesses who want to grow with workers who want to punch their ticket to the middle class. And the secret sauce of success is community colleges. Because, you know, for some people, like the student we met a little while ago, he was a carpenter, then 2008 hit, and his world fell apart because there were no jobs. And he had to reinvent himself. And so he came here, and he was able to reinvent himself, and he has, again, punched his ticket to the middle class. Other people have different circumstances. But you have such a deftness in this community college system to respond to all the various needs. You understand one of the basic notions of effective job creation and economic development is you take the job seeker where you find him or her. And you have done great work toward that end. That's why I'm here with a group of recidivists today, because you guys not only got round 1 intact, you got round 4 intact, and that's because you are building on your success. And it truly is, I think, a transformation agenda. And you know, Arnie and I have chatted about this. The brilliance of the transformation is actually, and I mean no disrespect by what I'm about to say, it ain't rocket science. It's getting all the right people around the table, making sure you're demand driven. You know, we don't train and pray anymore. If no one's hiring widget makers, we don't train widget makers. That's a waste of money. It's making sure that we have alignment, making sure that we construct a skills superhighway. That's what you're doing now. It has on-ramps and off-ramps, because you may have a single mom who's 21 years old and she needs that credential now that can get her into the workforce at that $12 an hour job. But tomorrow she's going to do that $18 an hour job because she's going to stack the additional credential on top. And so you have that knowledge of what the demand needs are. And I'll tell you, everywhere I go, people are bullish because the numbers bear it out. You know, manufacturers are coming back to America. Insourcing is the word of the day, not outsourcing. Opportunity is the word of the day across sectors, and you have figured it out. And one of the really neat things about your most recent grant that you got is you are using the power of data to educate and empower people. You are one of the only grantees who had a remarkable plan together to make sure that all of the labor market information that you have, information about jobs that are out there today, and then information about wages. This enables consumers to be more educated consumers. I want to feed my family. Well, now you're going to have access to data about those various opportunities to feed your family. And so you've put partnership in action. You have remarkable employer engagement. You have state, local, federal partnership at work. You have a remarkable congressman. That's stating the obvious. And you have great leadership at every level. And that's why Arnie and I are here, because we want to make sure we learn from you, and then we want to steal it and export it elsewhere so that America can learn the lessons that are in place right here in Massachusetts. So thanks for having us, and I look forward to listening and learning.
Before I introduce our panelists, and again, I'll introduce each one in order before they speak, I just want to highlight, and it's going to reinforce some of what you said, with our transformation agenda in round 1 that is leading to the success that will happen with round 4 TAC funding. Since 2011, the transformation agenda has brought together all of Massachusetts community colleges, the Commonwealth's higher education department, economic development, adult basic education, and workforce development systems with industry stakeholders to transform the delivery of industry-aligned education and training programs. Through accelerated programs linked closer to industry needs, the transformation agenda is removing barriers, reducing time to completion, and meeting student and employer needs across the state's 15 community colleges. We've developed 152 programs that can be delivered in accelerated, stackable programs to meet local needs and shared with curriculum across the state among our institutions. Those industries that we're impacting are healthcare, advanced manufacturing, information technology, biotechnology, sustainable energy, and financial services, the largest and most invested in Massachusetts. Our simple stated goal 3 years ago was that when our round one tax submission was many people in this room, over 150 people who participated in that submission, were going to change the way in which we deliver workforce training in Massachusetts. Completing our 3rd year, we think we made tremendous progress toward our goals. This accelerated programs link closely to industry need. Our partners, our one-stop career centers, our workforce investment boards, hand in hand with our community colleges, are reducing that time to completion and meeting student employer needs every day. I just want to hit a couple of key points, and I'm not going to highlight all the ones I even have on my sheet because you have a whole list in your packet. But all of our colleges now have the ability not only to do late night programming, but off-cycle, accelerated, short-term programming as the demands in their marketplace need it. We have structural integration with our one-stop career centers and community colleges, not only in positions and resources of staffing to remove barriers, but that technology-enabled linkage that you're reading about in round 4 was tested in round 1. Our partners at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a pretty bright group of people, has worked with our community college faculty and staff and one-stop leaders to think about an integrated data system that will allow in real time Help Wanted Online, Wanted Analytics, ACT Career Readiness Suite to be available to every employee or student or individual at our campuses to help move people through. And the most important thing beyond the partnerships and investments that we're all making together and our state investments that are leveraged against this in significant ways is we've had over 6,500 students across 15 campuses that have enrolled in the stackable programming. 80%, over 80%, are completing that programming that they enrolled at different levels in the stack, and 70% of them have found immediate job placement. And in some fields, they found 100% job placement. And that's the story of success that we're glad you're recognizing, and we are glad you're replicating across the country in the new round 4s with integrated components. We've assembled a panel today to share with you the impact of the TAC round 1, to lay the foundation for where we go in round 4 in our state, not only with our consortium, but with Cape Cod Community College and an individual application. We've asked them all to talk about their impact on their world of the TAC round 1. These are state leaders, these are college presidents, these are industry partners, these are representatives of the Workforce Investment Board and One Stop Career Center, and most importantly, 2 students who have been impacted by our shared work. We have asked each panelist to share how our transformation agenda has impacted their world and hopefully highlight how we have transformed workforce development training in Massachusetts. I'm going to again introduce each one individually. I'd like to start with Secretary Greg Bielecki. He's the Secretary of Housing and Economic Development in our state. Secretary.
Well, thank you very much. And to both the Secretaries and President Obama, we just, on behalf of Governor Patrick, we thank you so much for the investments and you've made in us and the continuing investments. My career before working with the Governor had been in the private sector. I think since we're among friends today, I'll speak freely and say that my sense is that when talking about government programs, if you use the word transformative or the word innovative, there's a lot more programs that claim to be doing that than the ones that are really able to do it. It's things people want to talk about. So, but I'm very pleased to say that, and I admit, again among friends, I've been so impressed and pleased to report to you that over the last 3 years, this really has been a transformative experience for our community college system. For a few reasons. One is I have never seen, and I've been working now with the Governor for almost 8 years, I've never seen the level of coordination and cooperation among our 15 community colleges. They're just doing all sorts of smart things, comparing notes about who's doing what, who's better at what, saying, well, you do that, and we'll do more of something else that we're good at. It's also really rallied all of the stakeholders around the community colleges, obviously at a federal level, at the state level, Secretary Caprillion, our Secretary of Labor and Workforce Development, and I and Matt Malone, our Secretary of Education, are working together very closely with the workforce investment boards. And as you've seen earlier today, and we'll hear more about from the panel, with industry as well. It is really, the grant that you gave us 3 years ago has been the catalyst for really rallying all the stakeholders around a common agenda, and that's been wonderful. Also, it really has changed the image and profile of the community colleges in Massachusetts. Secretary Duncan, you talked about it, community colleges being unrecognized gems. Again, I think if we're candid in this room, we'd have to acknowledge that Massachusetts, we have the benefit of having some marvelous world-class colleges and universities the presence of those world-class colleges and universities has caused us to underestimate and underappreciate the importance of a community college system in this state. And this grant and the work that's come around the grant has really raised the profile and told the public the importance, re-emphasized the importance of community colleges in creating educational opportunity for everyone. So for all those reasons, it has been a truly transformative experience for us. And Secretary Perez, as you mentioned, we think it couldn't have come at a better time, because you say this is really a conversation about what does a 21st century American middle class look like, and what we've been able to show at a time when people are feeling like there is no more chance to have a middle class in our new economy, our global economy, that there is. And in a number of the programs that we've demonstrated through this grant, we're not only talking about that possibility, but as you saw today, you are seeing young people and older people who are going to be part of a 21st century American middle class thanks to our community colleges. So thank you so much for what you've done.
I'd now like to introduce the Secretary of Labor and Workforce Development for Massachusetts, Rachel Kapelian.
So much enthusiasm in this room, so much to talk about, and transformative is the right word, because we are transforming not just programs, not just opportunities, not just the way we used to do things versus the way we're going to do things, but we're transforming lives. And that is what this is about, people's lives and what their future will look like, and what are the real practical applications of what we can do to help them. What are the jobs that are out there? Where do I go to get trained? How do I get trained? I work full-time, I have 4 kids. How long will it take me? Does the job have a career letter? How much am I going to get paid? And then finally, where's my job? And employers are telling us where are those jobs, and that they need that training, and they need those people to get into these positions and secure our future here in Massachusetts. And what is booming in our future, in our present, is STEM. And guess what? STEM jobs pay twice, on average, what other entry-level jobs pay. So the ticket to that middle class, as Secretary Perez and Secretary Duncan and Secretary Bielecki all referenced, is training. And that training is not PhDs. That training is middle skills, which is less than 2 years in most cases. It's scalable, it is clear, and you meet the student where they are. And by the way, these are not kids oftentimes. These are people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, looking to what is going to sustain them in the middle class and beyond. So my job is not just to, continue the enthusiasm, which I could do all day, but it's also to talk about how Round 1 has impacted our workforce system, and how we have intentionally integrated our higher ed. So what has it meant, and what have we done? It was a natural fit for our workforce system in Massachusetts. It's clearly building out on an industry-driven career pathways, where are the jobs and who's hiring, within our community college system, and our one-stop career centers. We got 33 of them. They are one-stop shopping for what is out there and how do I find what jobs there are. And by the way, employers can list those jobs for free. I'm sorry, they're American Job Centers. They're American Job Centers today, and one-stop career centers, both. It's been a great opportunity to formalize those partnerships and integrate that work. One great example is the creation of the College and Career Navigator position that built out new referral processes and guidance information attached to career planning activities that led to direct enrollment at our community colleges. And this was managed by community college and outstationed within our career centers. So we are working together every day and in real and practical ways. We see this as a bridge of those systems and to help advise customers and students about their financial aid options, admissions programs, how long things will take, and advance their career education, what happens after they're trained. As a result of the percent of job seekers in Central Mass accessing individual training account funding through the career centers has more than doubled. So we are doing great guns in just this short period of time. Our office has worked closely with the transformation agenda to deploy new data tools. Again, it's great when you can measure it. This is great to have data. What you're going to do with the data? Having actual employment trends and things that we're looking at in our future and how that translates into jobs in your region right now. So our collective work on Round 1 has paved our way for the final development of our Career Readiness Initiative. What's that? That's a way to walk into a career center. Where am I? What do I need to know? Am I leveled at gold, silver, bronze, platinum? What do I need to get to the place where I can get that job and the ticket to the middle class? And we are doing great with that, and we are going to be rolling that out in full force this fall. And while I have the opportunity, I want to acknowledge the great work done by our WIBs, our Workforce Investment Boards, we call them WIBs, and One-Stop Career Centers, and I thank them for all the work. I look forward to round 4. More, better, smarter, faster. Thanks.
Again, I'll continue to try to keep us moving along with a very tight agenda. President Gail Carberry served at Quinsigamond Community College as the president. She also, one of my bosses, we served as the lead institution for the round 1 application submission and management. So President Carberry.
Thank you, Dale. First, I'd like to thank the secretaries, both at the state level and the federal level, for your vote of confidence in the colleges of Massachusetts, the community colleges. We are what's been called a loose confederation here in Massachusetts. And in that regard, we are all about local response. And so I want to thank you for your vote of confidence. I want to thank Dale for stepping up. You know, at Quinsigamond Community College, we have had an interesting history of trying to build partnership locally, and Dale has been a critical piece of that. And as we stepped forward with a national agenda, a statewide agenda, Dale devoted enormous energy and time to it. I also want to thank the Executive Office of Community Colleges, because we are that confederation of colleges that try to make good things happen. We began with an agenda that was local. Quinsigamond had a range of best practices that we knew could be leveraged, and we knew that our sister institutions in the state had similar best practices. You know, I'm a graduate of this institution, Springfield Technical Community College. I'm also a proud graduate with a doctoral level from the University of Massachusetts here in Western Massachusetts. My focus had been on organizational development, and most specifically on the diffusion of innovation in community colleges. We know several things about change. First and foremost, the stakeholders are absolutely critical to change. People do not sabotage their own projects. And so, while this is not rocket science, many people had different ideas about how to design the rocket. And so as we bring people together and we begin to talk about what makes change happen, it is all about bringing common stakeholders to the table. Another truism of organizational development change is that top-down directed change is faster, but bottom-up driven change is more permanent. And so this is a transformation agenda. This is about transforming the way we do business in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Let me also recognize Congressman Neal, because his district comes into my service area. And yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And we could not function as effectively as we do without having our leadership at the congressional level as part of our team. So I want to say that we began locally, we took it statewide. We are most appreciative of your vote of confidence in our model to take it national, because we know what works. We're ready to move forward even more effectively. I also want to say that we embraced the Obama challenge of increasing the number of graduates from our community colleges, and the number of graduates at every institution is up. Next June, our 50th graduation, we anticipate that we will be at that doubling point. So we thank you for coming. We thank you for your vote of confidence.
Next, I'd like to ask William Messner. Bill Messner is the president of Holyoke Community College. They've been with all the campuses active in round 1 and active in the round 4 consortium application that has also just been funded. So, Bill.
Thank you very much. Actually, I'm pinch hitting here. Charlie Wall was supposed to be sitting here. Charlie's president over Massasoit. They were the lead campus for our round 4 application. And we really need to thank Charlie and his staff for doing such a great job. Kudos also to Dale Allen, to Jennifer Freeman for giving such great direction to round 1. We wouldn't be sitting here if we had screwed up the first round.
Thanks.
Quite all right. Also, Congressman Neal used the phrase, folks get it. And certainly we're blessed here in Massachusetts by the fact that we have a whole lot of folks who get it. And that starts on the federal level with President Obama, the Secretary Duncan, Secretary Perez, who've been great supporters. The state level, Governor Patrick and his staff, Secretary Balecki, Secretary Caprillion,
Well done.
now, do I have that one? Have also been great supporters of us. Quite frankly, the Massachusetts community colleges have not always been identified as paragons of collaboration and workforce development. In fact, some 3 or 4 years ago, we endured some criticism for not doing as good a job as we might in that area. And being competitive by nature, we took that criticism to heart, and I think have demonstrated both at round 1 and now with this round 4 application that not only can we do the job, but we get it in terms of the collaborative notion that we can focus, we can act together as a group, we can work together with employers, with folks at the one-stops and the REBs and the like to serve the public's needs. And you're going to hear from a couple of students in a few minutes when I shut up who will talk specifically about the benefits of this grant to them. In terms of Holyoke Community College, let me say one of the real benefits of the round 1 grant is that, like most bureaucracies, we tend to work in silos. Educational institutions, particularly higher ed institutions, even though they have this image of being, you know, liberal ivory towers, in fact, they're pretty conservative places. They don't change real quick. And one of the real benefits of round 1 grant is that it gave us leverage to change. And in fact, we've broken down some of those barriers, particularly barriers between non-credit and credit, such that we've created pathways for students who start in short-term programming and then move over. Secretary Perez used the term stackable credentials, which is a fancy way of saying students can move up the career ladder. And we've done a lot of that through round 1, and we'll continue that work in round 4. So we get it, and we'll continue to get it.
Great. I want to just take a moment to also acknowledge one of the lead partners with the round 4 submission for the community college is a Complete College America, which is a national organization dedicated to increasing college completion rates, and Domi Raymond is here from Complete College America. I'd now like to move to Paul Judd. Paul is a vice president at Bay State Medical Center, and Bay State Medical Center has been a partner from day 1 of round 1's discussions and continues, and is an active partner here with the campuses out this way. They're one of the largest healthcare providers in Massachusetts. So Paul, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dale. I just want to speak to how important this partnership has been with STCC and the community colleges. And I want to do that by way of example. In 2011, we were ramping up for what we called at the time our Hospital of the Future. It was a brand new facility that we were bringing online. And with new procedure rooms and ORs, we needed individuals in a sterile processing technician role. STCC was totally responsive. We built a program very quickly. It was a 5-week program that allowed the individuals, when they completed it, to sit for national certification. We did this with funds from Bay State and the STCC Foundation. The first class graduated 14 graduates, and we hired 12. We found through sort of trial and error that maybe 5 weeks wasn't long enough, and we had to do some rework. They worked with us to do that. We sat in 2012 and refined the certificate program. The course was lengthened to 14 weeks with significant time added for clinical rotations. And we found that with those changes, we were able to create a curriculum that would better prepare the students, and it was a sustainable and replicable program. The other thing I just want to add here is I think we really have something very special here in Western Mass. We have a healthcare partnership of Western Mass. We have other partnerships that we developed through a convening body called the Regional Employment Board. To me, they've made all the difference in the world in terms of bringing competing organizations together to take off their individual organizational stewardship hats off and put on a community stewardship hat and really try to develop the healthcare workforce of the future for our community, not just our individual organizations. So thank you for allowing me to address you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Paul. I'd like to introduce Steve Capshaw. Steve is the owner of a small business, VSS. It's a small advanced manufacturer from Greenfield, Massachusetts, who partners with Greenfield Community College. Steve?
Hi, thank you for having me. The last few years have been a paradox for our industry, with significant demand for complicated components, especially in aerospace and medical fields, coupled with a complete shortage of our most important resource, skilled labor. In 2010, my company had begun turning away large amounts of work because of an inability to hire entry-level employees with basic training, which is about 200 hours of training in our industry. Day after day, we would bang our heads against a wall trying to recruit skilled machinists. We increased our wage scale, moved to 100% paid medical, and doubled our 401k contribution in an effort to find employees. We could find none because there were none. Vocational schools were detached from the needs of manufacturers at that time, and there was no pathway for adults into the industry other than the program here at STIC, which was far away from us and was much smaller in capacity at the time. With significant demand for skilled employees, anybody with skills already had a job. I remember vividly driving home every night at that time, listening to stories on the radio of real wages and benefits falling, the same stories you hear now. An unemployment rate at that time that was persistently around 10%, and feeling like I must be living on another planet. How can I, and so many advanced manufacturers locally, be simultaneously looking for a large number of employees in the worst economy since the Great Depression and literally not be able to find a single prospect? Plenty wanted to get the training, plenty expressed that they wanted to work for us, none could get the basic training. Again, a short amount of training, 200, 250 hours. Then came the Middle Skills Manufacturing Initiative program, which was planned about a year and a half ago and began a year ago in September. A collaboration between the Greenfield Community College, the Franklin Hampshire Employment Board, Franklin County Technical School, and 13 local manufacturers. The program set out to train 12 to 15 employees per semester, twice per year, in CNC machining skills. The Department of Labor grant to the 15 Community College was crucial to this program, paying specifically for a second teacher in the program, which was critical, paying instructors for curriculum development, which didn't exist before we started, funding the assessment of the applicants, marketing for recruitment of applicants and information sessions for those applicants, and also paying for tooling use subscriptions, which is online training with the Society of Manufacturing Engineers. Before this program, Manny Enriquez, Michelle Mitchell, Stephen Adams, and Danny Graves were unemployed people. Strong workers, highly intelligent, but with little skills and demand, they could find no jobs to support their families. Dana Graves had twin girls in the summer of 2013 and was terrified for their future because he said he couldn't find a job that paid more than $10 an hour with any benefits. With the training provided by the DOL grant, they all became highly valued employees of my company, an important part today of the growth that we see moving forward. Throughout the first 2 training cycles last year, 29 graduates have gained positions in 11 companies with great pay and benefits and room for continued learning and advancement. As you said, they're examples of how we can rebuild the middle class. Their lives and the prospects for local manufacturers like mine are significantly better because of programs like this, and I can't say enough, I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Really quick question. I know we got to get to other folks. So you've hired 29. That's fantastic. How many, if you could hire X number collectively today or tomorrow, what's your demand for workers today?
We were at 25 employees in 2009. We're at 50 today. We would have been at 100 today if there was an adult education system in place throughout the last 10 years to supply the level.
So we're still not close to where we need.
Yeah, to put more numbers to it, the congressman had mentioned that there are 2,700 jobs available in the short term in the 3 counties of the Pioneer Valley in the next few years. The vocational schools at max capacity put out, at maximum, I believe it's 160 people, at most, every year. It doesn't even come close to our current needs. So I wouldn't, you know, I don't want to put it. It's so much different than it was even 3 years ago. We were terrified 3 years ago. We didn't feel like we could grow at all, and now we feel like we are much less constrained than we were at that time.
Right. So I take it as you're just nervous now, not terrified. Sorry. This is a great example, and just by way, on the tour, we talked a lot about the advanced manufacturing facility here and talked about statewide the demand numbers of 100,000 jobs expected in the advanced manufacturing space. We're addressing that collectively across the state with 8 of our community colleges working with Massachusetts Manufacturing Extension Partnerships, and again, our friends on MIT with some modules for simulation. But we want to double our completion rates in that field, or triple, or quadruple, or 5 times, and Secretary Bielecki helps lead that at the state with the Advanced Manufacturing Collaborative. Let me continue on. Again, we have additional folks to hear from. We'd like to shift to hear from a couple students to talk about the power of this program for them. We've had a fill-in. Xavier Colon from STCC was unable to join us this morning and on very short notice, and we greatly appreciate it, James. James Flito has joined us. He's gone through the program here at STCC and is representing that perspective. James.
Thank you. Yes, I graduated in August from the Precision Manufacturing Program, and as everyone has stated here, it is a life changer. It is a game changer. To get those skills, I was a highly paid individual with Monsanto Solution for 22 years, and then 2008 came and things weren't too good. I was out the door, and I struggled for 3 years. This program, we were all from different ethnicities, different ages, different backgrounds. We all came together, we worked hard, and nobody gave us anything. This program is very challenging, and you need to work at it at home as well as when you're in the classroom. But it did give us the skills. We've got probably a 90% employment rate out of this first class from STCC, and I'd like to thank all the secretaries, definitely Congressman Neal, he's always been for the working guy, and all the people from STCC, the faculty and administrators really, really helped. And I'd like to lastly thank my new employer, Chemigraphics in Ludlow, for giving me a chance. I was the oldest person in the class, 56 years old. We ranged from about 20 to 56. And with the background, I got skills that I maybe had buried and skills that I did not have that are definitely necessary in this modern technology workplace. That I'm probably a little old. I wasn't born with a computer in my hand like my son or my daughter was. So this is, please put the money into this. You are going to get this is an investment. You will get a return out of this, and possibly, hopefully, a stronger America also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. I'd now like to call on Francine Poulin. Francine is a student or has gone through the program at Holyoke Community College to share her impacts. Francine.
Hello, I graduated from Holyoke Community College in September for the medical billing, and it's been a great experience. I was hired right away by Holyoke Medical, so I'm very pleased. It helps a lot too. As you get older, you know, the life expectancy is, you know, you're gonna work a lot longer, so it helps when you get older to get into something that's going to keep you going for years.
Thank you. And again, just to hear from some of our additional partners from the workforce development side, representing both the American Job Centers and the workforce investment boards differently, but I'm going to start with Arthur.
Chillinger.
Thank you. I believe we call him Chili.
Yeah, they call me Chili.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to first start by saying I am very happy with the success we had with the first round of the grant, and look forward to continuing working with the colleges in the next round of this grant. This grant has improved our partnership with Northern Essex, and I expect it will become even stronger as we move forward. Now, we have a navigator on site who assists our job seekers who might be unfamiliar with the community college offers in regards to programs such as the credit programs, degree programs, or financial aids. The navigator and college program staff periodically attend monthly full staff meetings to provide staff with current new programs and describe their roles to make the referral enrollment process more effective and efficient and done in a timely manner. We also have meetings with college staff to provide updates on any and all issues that may impact this grant. Career Center staff and college staff discuss designing courses that both the customers and employers need to fill the skills gaps. The Navigator and I meet monthly and go over the monthly reports in regards to participants, enrollments, courses, placements, wages, and demographics. In June of this year, I located my Haverhill Career Center. I have two career centers, Lawrence and Haverhill. I located my Haverhill Career Center at the Northern Essex Community site in Haverhill. Many of the job seekers who come to our Career Center will inquire about college programs, non-credit, credit, and degree programs. After providing them with information about all the services we have available, some will choose to enter a college program utilizing the Pell Grant funding instead of the WIA funding and other grants, other Career Center grant fundings. Through this grant, the college has increased the number of approved training courses, so our job seekers now have more training options. In addition, students from the college are referred to the Career Center by college staff to use our resource room for job search, job placement, attend resume workshops, or any other necessary services that will assist in getting employed, which increases the college job placement rates. And in the Northern Essex Fall 2014 Non-Credit Opportunities Brochure, they provided free advertising space for the Valley Works Career Center, which has increased the volume of job seekers who utilize our career centers. In November, we are planning on holding a Veterans Job Fair event at the Northern Essex Community College, which the community college will assist in marketing to their students. The Vice President and I are planning on visiting with all the academic chairs and deans to continue to promote Valley Works as a great resource for students. The college is strongly committed to having NECO students use Valley Works services. For the Career Center and the college, this is a win-win situation. I mean, we get more members coming into Career Center to use our services. The college gets more students coming out, more job seekers coming in to enroll in their programs as well as get the job placement. So this grant has been very helpful to us. It's provided a stronger relationship with the college, and we look forward to continuing with it.
Great. Thanks, Joey. And representing the workforce investment boards in the state is the president and CEO of the Hampden County Regional Employment Board, David Cruz. David.
Yeah, thank you, Dale. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the 16 workforce investment boards throughout the Commonwealth, thank you both for your leadership and support in the work we're doing. I want to share with you this morning 3 things that I think have been significant outcomes so far in the work of the TAC grant that I think bode well going forward, and I think in particular bode well for the emergence of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act that's going to be rolled out in July 1 of 2015. One is I think the TAC grant clearly broadened and deepened employer engagement in ensuring the alignment of the work that's being done in the courses at the community colleges with the competencies and skills that are required in industry. We think that alignment has clearly been a major outcome of this work through the first 3 years. Second, the TAC grant clearly, from the Workforce Investment Board's perspective, has created a framework, and I think that's what we need, a framework for the development of an education and workforce development infrastructure and delivery system that is focused on measurable outcomes and clear accountability metrics. I think we have to make certain that what we're doing is measurable and there's some metrics attached to that work. Third, there's no doubt in our mind across the Commonwealth that the partnerships that have been developed by this work of the TAC grant are clearly going to drive going forward the implementation of innovative workforce development interventions that, again, in our judgment, as you heard from talking with James and Kathleen, the clearly are going to create jobs and kind of spur economic development. And as we read the language in the pages of WIOA, it's clear that terms like employer engagement, partnership building, accountability metrics are really going to be what's going to drive the work going forward. And I think this grant and the work that's been done by the community college and its partners clearly have positioned the Commonwealth and I hope the country going forward. I want to also thank you on behalf of the business and industry folks who aren't here today, who really are the end users of this grant and this work. And there's no doubt, at least here in Hampden County, that they're excited about the opportunity for this grant to move forward. And finally, I also want to thank you on behalf of the thousands of unemployed, underemployed individuals who, again, are the customers that are going to really benefit by the continuation of this grant. You've heard two stories here this morning. As the Congressman alluded to, there's still a persistent, nagging number of people out there that still need work. And this grant, as I said, is clearly going to help them going forward. So again, thanks so much for your leadership.
And just a logistical item prior to closing comments by both secretaries. Just remain seated as the panelists depart to allow us to kind of keep on a tight time schedule that we have. But I would ask both Secretary Perez and Secretary Duncan to offer any closing comments you'd like.
First of all, to Jim and to Francine, you inspire us. You know, this is what gets us out of bed in the morning. Not just me, but that president over there and this secretary over here and everybody around this room. When I entered college, my mother entered college because she never had a chance to go. She was 56 years old. So when I was listening to you, I thought of my late mother. So you do great stuff, and I'm sure your kids are really proud of how you got back on your feet. And so I want to say thank you. The story that Steve told is the story I hear across America. People often wonder, Tom, are you irrationally optimistic? And my answer is hell no. Because I hear this story everywhere I go. Businesses who are bullish about the future. And it's not simply in manufacturing. We have the best workforce in the world. We are on the pathway to energy independence. You read Fortune magazine and you look at the top 100 growing businesses in America, 26 are in the energy sector. And we have so many built-in advantages. Insourcing is the wave of the present and the future. Outsourcing is yesterday's news, trending down. And that is what I see across America. And that is why I have optimism. Because, Steve, I have heard your story in so many places. And that is why these investments and this transformation is so critically important. Because what I heard you say and what I heard Paul say, and I love the fact that the level of your engagement, and you go to school on it. Okay, we had a 5-week program. Okay, worked okay, but room for improvement. But you're at the table. That's one of the hugest transformational differences of our ecosystem today from our ecosystem of 10 years ago is the quantity and quality of employer engagement. The recognition that we're all in this together, and our competition isn't actually the guy down the road. Our competition is folks in Singapore and folks in China and folks elsewhere around the globe. And so we're all in this together. And cannibalization is not a workforce development strategy. You steal someone from the medical center, Mass General, they're going to come and steal someone back from you. That's zero-sum workforce. That doesn't work. That's not the key to the 21st century. So, as we move forward here, what Steve said implicitly and what Paul said implicitly, the challenge here is scaling it up, because we have some of the we have the blueprint for success in this state and in many states and regions across this country. We've got to figure out how to scale it. And so I hope moving forward, this is not a one-off for Arnie and me. We're here because we want to learn, and we've learned a lot. But we hope that you will continue to hold us accountable to implode our stovepipes at a federal level, and to hold us accountable for how we can take things to the next level. So if you're saying, hey, I got to get from A to B, and there's this silly thing in the way, call us, and let's figure out how we can get it out of the way. Because, I've seldom had an original idea in my life. And listening to folks here and across the country is how we're going to continue this process of transformation. And so thank you to our state partners and our local partners. And there's this bill, the Workforce Investment Act reauthorization. You know, it was mentioned by David and others. You know, there are very few things that get accomplished in this Congress on a bipartisan fashion right now. This is one of them. And this is a space where we can work together. And we have been working with Republicans and Democrats, because this ain't red or blue. This is quintessential red, white, and blue. And let's keep doing it, because I want to see more Jims. I want to see more Francines. We want to make sure that the pipeline of folks who still believe that still are having challenges, we want to make sure we help all of them. And I know we can, because Steve tells me I got jobs in manufacturing. Paul's telling me I got jobs in healthcare. Everywhere else we're telling you we got jobs in biotech, etc. We got a lot of work to do still, but we're making progress. You got a great blueprint, and let's take it to scale.
Just very quickly, this is probably my 4th or 5th trip to Massachusetts in the past few months, and that's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. I just think in so many ways you guys are helping lead the country where we need to go. And what I love here is at every level, early childhood, K-12, higher ed, community colleges. You guys are doing extraordinary work and challenging yourselves every single day to get better. There's not a sense of complacency. There's a sense of urgency, and I love both the commitment to high performance, but the not resting on your laurels. And that's what I heard here today. I think the challenge that, what Tom said is real. What he hears, what I hear, what Penny Pritzker hears, what the president hears is, for all the hard work, we still have a disconnect that doesn't benefit anyone. And so just for, obviously this would be a much longer conversation, for folks to challenge us, thinking about going forward, his investment's been $2 billion in community colleges. Unprecedented. I don't know if there's ever been that kind of investment before. But candidly, there's not, Congressman's trying his best. It's a difficult climate to get new money these days. And so there's not another $2 billion behind this. So the question for me is, short, huge resources like that, how do we get people collaborating and talking and working? And what I heard, again, got to take him in his word, is that while there's been real progress, we're maybe 10% of where we need to go to meet the need. There's a 90% need beyond what we've done. And that's just not good enough. We have too many individuals struggling. We have too many young people looking for work. And so how do we get better, absent an additional $2 billion? How do we collaborate more thoughtfully? How do we evolve more quickly? I love, don't call it a failure, but you make a mistake, you learn quickly, you adjust, you keep going. That's innovation. That's what you talked about. And so just again, can this community, can this state, can these leaders here help us with money, without money, figure out how we more rapidly fill those holes so that unemployment rate goes down faster and our employers can grow and more people can have a chance to be successful. And if you guys can help to set that model, as you have in so many ways, those implications aren't just for your community here, those implications are national. And as Tom said, whatever we can do to help learn from you, learn with you, share that, we're all in on this. But thank you for your leadership, and thanks for where you're helping to take the country.
Again, thank you, Secretaries, for being here. Thank you to all of our panelists for being here. I'd ask everyone to remain seated until our panelists can depart. We are going to attempt to have some media time briefly in the back room as best we're able, but we're on a tight schedule. So thank you all very much again.